and experience a whole new world of Singer, your trusted online family company.
99.9 WEFM.
Oh, you feel that's what child you pedophile. I me say no make them take advantage of you. Nah, nah, nah. Hey, young girl going to school, yeah. I'm not falling nobody. That man where I call you sexy could be twice your daddy. Your time rough like Greta, plus your mama know I'm me. Please me, I beg you, don't make them come mess up your body. And you dirty man, leave the people picking them alone. You dirty man, you know it's wrong. So leave the people picking them alone. It's a disgrace, man. You're just a waste man, yeah. Hey, mommy, you feel listen to your daughter when she tell you she no happy. You see the signs and turn a blind eye. Me I beg you to stop it. That man when you have a gun take you when you left him still not happy. You left your young girl all alone. Not take your daughter, say hello to you, dirty man. You dirty man. Leave the people picking them alone. You dirty man. You know it's wrong. Leave the people picking them alone. It's a disgrace, man. Ooh, you're just a waste man.
WEFM is SVG.
Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
Welcome back, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Before we get into our discussion, I'd just like to remind everyone that the Searchlight Midweek is online. Here are the headlines. Grenada murder suspects ordered out of SVG. SILAP members states divided over Israel-Gaza stance. Female scammer bonded after pleading guilty, ordered to compensate victims. No for sale sign in SVG's windows as PM Gonzalez. US-based Vincentian accountant publishes books about life in SVG. Fishers and taxi operators anxious about Sandals opening. Prime the Pump discusses, is charisma something we are born with or is it learned behavior? Two companies and government assist Olympics-bound US-based SVG athletes, more sports, and kitchen corner. Searchlight, journalism you can trust. Check us out online at searchlight.vc. Well, Roleza.
Over to me. All right, so as you heard in that, before we got into this segment, we were playing the song Dirty Man by Ruby and Virgo, right? And our subject, or our topic for discussion for this particular segment is reading from the Searchlight newspaper. I have a physical newspaper in my hand with underlines and everything, right? Because it really ticked me off when I read this story, right? Several things. So it says, man sentenced to 28 years for sexually abusing his niece. Now, I'm not going to read the full article verbatim, but I'm going to mention certain things, extracts, and ask questions along the way, right? So for those of you who haven't read it, I would suggest that you go on Searchlight's website, as well as if you could get a physical copy of the newspaper to do so, and you get the full story, right? So a young man asked the judge for some leniency, right, before being sentenced to prison after he was found guilty of having unlawful sexual intercourse with his 11-year-old niece and for having sexual intercourse with her on 2 occasions. The young man said, "I would like you to have some leniency on me," were the words of the 23-year-old man as he was about to be sentenced to prison for committing 3 sexual offenses against his niece, who was 10 to 11 years old at the time. Right, the offender, who was between the ages of 18 to 19 years old when he committed the acts, All right. So, okay, let me read it properly. The offender, who was between 18 and 19 years old when he committed the crimes, was found guilty on February 29th at the High Court that on a date unknown between September 30th, 2018 and January 21st, 2019, he attempted to have sexual intercourse with a girl under the age of 13, etc. Right? The defendant, the resident of a North Windward community with the virtual complainant at his mother's house, while the virtual complainant's mother resided in a different village, right? So the young girl in question, she was living with her grandmother and her uncle, and her mother was living in a different area. So though the offenses began in 2018, the matter was not reported to the police until 2020. Right? The virtual complainant said that she did not tell anyone about what was happening to her out of fear of being ridiculed. She said, I feel like if I tell teachers, the rumors would spread. People would be like, oh, she gets raped. All right. So I'm just going to read certain things and then I'm going to go back and discuss them. But after she grew tired of what her uncle was doing to her, she decided to tell her mother, who is the sister of the defendant. The mother reported the matter to the police and removed the daughter from the house. Right. The article goes on to state how the act happened. In that case, he had put he put a pillow was pressed over her face, and a cast was shoved in her throat to muffle her screams. She is now 15 years old, and she said she can remember every detail of the abuse she suffered at the hands of her uncle. Not only has she become sickly and lost her appetite, the virtual complainant feels responsible for the breakdown in relationship between her mother and grandmother. Since after this incident, the virtual complainant has never spoken to her grandmother and the family has been torn apart, right? Justice Floyd also said the virtual complainant's mother feels like a failure and is still paranoid and suspicious in matters concerning her children. The mother has also experienced some difficulties with her husband as a result of the incident, right? Also, in commenting on it, Justice Floyd said he considered that the defendant was a trusted member of the family, as well as the age of the virtual complainant, and said that she is no longer the happy person that she was. Now, there were several things that I noted coming out of this, and I know that, yes, we come across many stories of persons being sentenced for having committed acts of rape, etc. But I've never really seen it like sort of broken down in this extent before. One of the things coming out of it is that the first point that I noticed was that the young lady said she feels as if she told anyone that rumors would spread about her being raped. And I have to question many times where those of us with children who might be parents, who might be guardians, do we have a relationship with our children or with our guardians so that they feel comfortable to let us know what is happening with them, right? Because this situation happened in the home where her grandmother was present. You know, she was living with her grandmother, her uncle, and I don't know who else was in the household situation. She said that it wasn't until that she got fed up of this situation that she told her mother, who lives somewhere else. And there are often times when I have to question the children who are within our care. Do they feel as if they have that relationship to be able to tell us anything that is happening, irregardless or regardless of who it is that might be doing wrong against them? Because you know that she would have trusted her uncle. She would not expect this of her uncle. Her mother would also probably not be expecting it of her uncle. And I want to believe as well, the grandmother was not expecting this of her son, right? So that is question number one to me. Do we have that sort of relationship with our children where they can feel comfortable telling us anything, right? So she reported the matter to her mother, and commendations to the mother for instantly reporting the matter and removing the daughter from the house, right? Anything that you want to say at that point, Ari?
Yeah, nothing right now.
Okay, right. There's another point that she said that she can remember every tale of the abuse that happened at the hands of her uncle. So she is now 15 years old, and this situation happened about when she was between 10 and 11, right? So about 4 years have passed. And oftentimes I think of situations where persons may think, okay, the act has happened, move on. But I don't know how easy it is for anybody to move on from something like this, where they have been robbed of their youthfulness, they've been robbed of their innocence, right? There are persons who say that it has occurred to you. Try to put it behind you. But how easy can it be for anybody to put a situation like this behind them? Where for me, rape is like robbing somebody of their soul. That's how I literally view rape, as robbing someone of their soul. And, she still, up to this point, 4 years later, can vividly remember what exactly that she went through at the hands of her uncle, right? She is now no longer the same person that she was. She's sickly. She has lost her appetite. Another factor that came into play with this particular situation. So it's not just a situation of the uncle raping the daughter, but now there has been a breakdown in the family, or a breakdown within the family, because the young girl, the innocent young girl who has been robbed of her innocence, she now feels responsible for the breakdown of the relationship between her mother and her grandmother since the incident, because her grandmother and mother have not spoken, and the family is torn apart. Now, why should this young girl be feeling as if she is responsible for what has happened within the family, right? I have to question, why was it that the girl did not feel safe in responding or reporting this matter to her grandmother, but she feels responsible for that breakdown within her family, right? Her mother now feels like a failure because she's paranoid and she's suspicious in relation to matters that concerns her children, as she should be, because one of the things that I knew with growing up is that my mother raising 2 girl children, it wasn't until becoming an adult I totally understood where she was coming from in terms of knowing where I was. If I was invited, let's say, to a slumber party, who it is I was going by, who all were living within the house, did she know the parents, etc., 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 right? She was raising 2 girl children on her own, so she had that sort of a hawkeye in a sense, in terms of being protective of her girl children. And I think in this case with the mother is that the mother would have thought that she was leaving her child in the care of trusting relatives, not realizing that this situation would happen. And as a result of it, there is that breakdown within the family because that trust was robbed, or that trust was taken away from them. All right. Then I'm seeing here that the Justice Floyd was making a comment or said that she is no longer the happy person that she once was, which is just the child, right? And I also have to look at situations where, now I'm not going to say that in this particular instance with this young girl, because I am wishing her the very best for life going forward, right? It was one of the worst experiences I could probably categorize it for her to have to go through in life. But I do know that there are instances when there are young ladies who go through situations like this and they carry it with them throughout their lives, right? They've never been able to fully recover from situations like this. There are times when I see in society when we pass our comments or we pass our judgments, let's say on a young lady who is promiscuous. And there are times when I do have to tell persons, well, do you know what her background story is, right? Do you know if, let's say, she was molested? Do you know, let's say, if she was raped, if she was a product of incest, right? Because many times when a young person or a woman goes through a situation like this, she no longer sees her worth. Because of the act that was committed against her, she feels as if she has been devalued and she no longer sees her worth. And in some instances, because when a woman does not recognize her worth, she accepts anything. So, sometimes I look at situations when we see women like this within our society, and I have to ask the question, what is their backstory? All right. You may have women who go on the other end, complete other end of the spectrum, where they want to have absolutely nothing to do with men, right? On account of what it is that they would have gone through. So, it was just, yes, I'm happy to see that the sentencing was harsh. I think it's been a bit harsher than I've seen in many stories coming out, and I am happy to see this. He's been sentenced to 28 years. I thought that he was a bit bold to be asking for leniency given what it is that he has put this young lady through. He has put his family through, and we don't know what this young lady's future life is going to be like. But I wish her nothing but the absolute best, you know. And before Ari comes in here, you know, it's for the young girls. Speak. I get goosebumps when I talk about this subject, because you have to know that somebody out there is going to listen to you. Somebody out there is going to believe you. So please speak to whoever it is that you feel you trust the most. Please speak up to these persons. All right. It has nothing to do with anybody putting a stigma attached to you or looking at you in a particular way, light, as this young girl thought that she was going to be the person people are going to view and say, oh, she got raped, right? The act has happened, but we also need to see that justice is done to the perpetrators behind these crimes. All right. So for young girls, again, I'm saying it again, it doesn't matter who it is. It could be your uncle, your father, your preacher, your brother, your cousin, your teacher, anybody who's out there who is doing things that you know is not right towards you. Please speak up. And this is where I am going to end and allow Ari to have his say.
All right, so Roleza said quite a mouthful there, nothing that I disagree with. So just gonna piggyback off of what she said. In other news, there's
all right, let's see the comments under there before we change stories.
There's one comment.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay.
Where exactly is the father of this young lady life to protect her, and why did he have children if he didn't want the responsibility?
So I don't know where the father is. The story did not speak of the father. The thing of it, to the person making the comments, the mother seems to be married. The mother is married, because it said that she is having trouble with her husband at this time, right? I don't know what the circumstances would have been for the young lady to be living with her grandmother instead of her mother. Don't know where the father is. But the point of all of this is that the mother would have left her with who it is that she thought that she could have trusted, right? You know, it's not to say that a father should not be playing the role, a father should not be there, but we know the reality of the situation sometimes where fathers just do not take up their responsibilities. Some of them may not be ready to have a child, and because they don't feel the need to be a part of the child's life in the way in which they should, the responsibility falls on the mother, you know? So I don't know where the father is, but the point in this particular story is that the trust was broken because the child was left in the care of persons who the mother would have felt comfortable with. So. Are we sure?
Okay, so we finished. We wrapping up that story.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so moving on. The sentencing of a woman who made videos abusing her child to be done in private. Well, given the time constraint, the long and short of it is the lady who was seen from Vermont abusing her child on video, tying her child's neck with what seems to be a scarf or a shirt or some sort of fabric. She had pleaded guilty to the charge, and her sentencing will now take place in private. The woman, Candice John, 26 of Vermont, was scheduled to be sentenced on Monday. However, there was a back and forth regarding the lawyer not receiving certain reports, and the agreement that the court came to is that it would happen at a later date. If I'm correct, it's in March 25th, and yes, it will happen in private. Now, the charge is what she pleaded guilty is on January 20th at Vermont, having charge or care of the juvenile. She did willfully ill-treat her in a manner likely to cause unnecessary suffering. Now, she already pleaded guilty of it. She's going to be sentenced. My problem is it happening in private. According to the father, she has been sending him numerous videos. The videos are out in the public, and I do believe that the sentencing in this case should serve as a deterrent, especially to young parents who are probably abusing their children in a spiteful way to get back at their spouse. It could be the father, it could be the mother. whoever it is that is abusing these children, they need to see this case and the sentencing of this case and let it serve as a deterrent. I do not believe that this should happen in private. Now, I do not know the regulations of the court in terms of the sentencing and why exactly by law it should happen in private. But speaking from the public's point of view, I do believe that in a case like this, it should be public knowledge what the sentence is, and it should serve as a deterrent to persons who want to abuse their children for various reasons.
Okay, I am in agreement with you, especially since this came to the public's attention. So I think as matter of public interest, and as you said, deterrent, the sentencing should also be of public interest, or person should know what the conclusion of it should be as well.
Okay, we have a comment here. Good morning, I'm a helicopter mom. What I meant by this, I will not leave my child to be raised by family members. Not that I'm saying all family members are bad, but in this case, we have to ask the question, has this situation been done before by another individual and the mom and grandmother knew what was a repeat offender?
Knew he was a repeat offender.
Knew he was a repeat offender. Steps should have been taken to remove the child a long time ago from the home. Why is it that he feels the need to do such an act on his own family member? She will need therapy for a long time to get over her ordeal and trauma he has caused her.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, that was the that was the comment there, but we do not know the factors surrounding why it is that she was left with in the care of family members. And usually, I do believe that people like to pass judgment prematurely without knowing the reasoning behind it. Could be financial constraint. It could be many different reasons why persons leave their children in the care of family members. What I see common is a lot of parents would leave their children in the care of family members when they have gone overseas to better themselves and make a life for the child to later join them. There are just parents who are negligent and they don't want to take care of the children, and so they pawn them off to their mother, their grandmother, or their sister or brother, or even sometimes the family member go and take the child because they don't feel like the parent is up to task. But we don't know, so we cannot pass judgment prematurely in any of these situations. But yeah, before we wrap up this segment, I'm pretty sure there's something you'd like to say.
No, I had my say. Yeah, it's just I don't want to have to hear of these situations again. I know that would be wishful thinking. But I have to look at it from not just the standpoint of the act itself, but the future implications on the life of the individual, right? And I guess that's why it is I had my full this morning with this particular topic.
Yeah, so the time is now 8:31 here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So we're going to take a commercial break and we'll be back with more Activated Mornings this morning.